I'm excited for Andor season 2. That's what I'm, and also Severance. I watched that as well. I really like Severance. Um, oh, I haven't talked about this, have I? My obvious takeaway of Severance is like that you are basically torturing yourself, because the thing in the conceit in the show is that like you go to work and like there's a new version of you that has like kind of all the same beliefs and opinions and sentiments. You know, it's the same brain except for your memory, your like temporal understanding of who you are. All you know, you have a vague knowledge of things, but you don't know who you are, or you don't remember anyone. The obvious conclusion there for me is that like that is still you, in terms of like you share a stream of consciousness. And so if you're like, oh, whatever, like it doesn't happen to me because I don't remember it. Like even if it sucks down there, it's like, well, no, it's miserable for you. You just don't remember it. Like it does bring about interesting questions about personhood and how like the concept of personhood is like kind of limiting almost. I wouldn't even go as far as to say Severance asked that many questions. Those were supposed to be a bit better. Very little exploration is done. I guess you're right. I feel like that's more like second season. I feel like they're setting that up. Like right now, a lot of the characters just don't want to think about it, which I think is interesting in a different way. Of there's a vague understanding that you're kind of doing this to yourself, but you don't want to think about it because you know you have pain on the outside and you don't want to carry it for at least some amount of time. But yeah, there was a point about like carrying. The guy, the PD was like, yeah, you carry that sadness inside. We can tell, which is interesting. But yeah, the obvious takeaway I felt was that, like, it's interesting because in a sense they are a different person than you. You see this especially with Helly. I guess I won't spoil who she is on the outside. They're a different person than you in a sense, but um, you share a stream of consciousness with that, and you share a brain. And so, like, if like someone were to tell you like we're gonna do the severance procedure and then we're gonna switch it and then like torture you, but like in a way that like wouldn't affect you afterwards, you know, you would still be self-interested in that. Like you would still be experiencing the torture even if you don't remember it later. Like you have a personal self-interest in that because you share a stream of consciousness with whatever. There's a lot of definitions of personhood contingent on memory. It makes the most sense. And in those definitions of personhood, they are a different person. I love the gay Christopher Walken character. The gay romance there is the stuff with Irv is also really interesting because it's clear that he's like a super like he's like a anti-lumen resistance fighter or something, and that he clearly has some memory that has escaped into his subconscious because he remembers the lift down, right? He's continually drawing it to try to like, which is presumably something he hasn't experienced, like he's experienced through his like innie. Um, John Turturro is his name, and the black paint stuff. Like it's clear that if you do it for long enough, you start to get psychic damage. The whole Kelly arc is you think it's disappointing? I don't know. Maybe I was watching it and I was like, I like this stuff is happening. No, I don't know. I think the idea that the difference there as a result of like upbringing says something interesting about people. And also the image, that the attitude of the Lumen people, that it like they don't view the innies as people. Black paint stuff was because he stayed up too late. I think it's more than that though. It's clearly like he's hallucinating. But that's a part of it. I think the he's trying to there's something with sleeping on the job that affects memory, I think. Because it goes into like your subconscious. I think that's what they're getting at. Show would look better if it weren't a cartoonishly evil company. Yeah, probably. If it was more subtle. But that takes away some of the stake in terms of like an entertaining show. I see what you mean though. The commentary would be more interesting. It's about the UK government because of Kier. That's true. Oh, I've been watching Severance. That's been goated. This season of Severance has been so good. It's been so long since I've watched a show as it's come out weekly. That's been interesting. The last episode is very good because it seems like the theme of this season is basically like the use of like concessions to control labor, capitalist institution playing nice to break up labor organization. Um, the fact that we already have, and this is, you gotta click. The fact that we already have Mark integration in the third episode is like so surprising to me. Like I don't. What do they have? Like, is it 7 episodes? Like how many? Did we already have this now? Mark Saudi's boring as a character. I guess so. I guess so. Yeah, probably. They are more compelling characters. The inside characters are more compelling. And then the Heliar stuff. I basically confirmed that it's not Heli, and that it's Helena. It's just like corporate Get Out. I guess so. Yeah. You know what's also fucked up? I don't know what's like. There's something wrong with my brain, maybe. But when they were giving Milchuk, when the board was giving Milchuk his like award, his like gift, I said out loud, "Black Kier Eagan." Like for some reason, I predicted that. I'm like, they're gonna give, they're gonna give him photos of the Eagans, but black. Like I I don't know what that means about my brain. But I was like, yep, feeling like the Black Kier Eagan. It's also interesting they're developing him as a much more compelling character. Like he's much more of like a salary man than like crazy white hair lady. Cobell, he's moving up in a company and doing sociopathic things for it, but maybe doesn't believe in the ideological project as much. The look they share is in Natalie. It's like the first moment of authenticity you see in Natalie's face as she's like, yeah, no, they gave me one. They gave me one of those as well. It's because I was worried. The thing that I found less compelling about this analogy for, you know, corporate abuse is that like the people who are doing it, who are managing it, aren't just following orders. Like Cobell is like an insane person who is like bought into a cult. It's much more interesting if people are just like, yeah, it's like it's a good job. Like, look, they have benefits and it's $20,000 more a year than the other job I was getting. And then you're just being like you're just doing like just awful abuse to people every day for 8 hours. The Mignon Severed is a good angle. There was a bunch of theories that like Cobell is like a resevered person. The idea being like that they take someone and then they sever them and they don't bring it back. They're always severed, which is why like Harmony would be so crazy that they begin as severed and then you propagandize them, you put them in a and then you bring them out into the world. Do you think Miss Wong is there? I don't know what's going on. I like the theory that the Miss Wong is like a younger clone of Gemma, but I think the clone thing is becoming less likely. It's because it's something is gonna do is gonna happen with that. They can't just there isn't just a child. Like there's something more to that. I think she's an Eagan. I would be surprised if all of the Eagans weren't white. I do love the narrative of the company and how it's founded. That it's this insane like old New England, the capitalist family that still lives by these like very old, like, is Presbyterian the right word? Like values. It feels like a thing of like I know it's not like Lost, like they know where they're going. I'd be very disappointed otherwise. I think most of people have generally accepted that it's not Heliar and that it's Helena. I think one of the indications of that, I watched like the analysis of the episode 2. Well, one of the indications, the main one, is that there was that shot of her going down the elevator and the noise didn't happen of the flipping, whereas it did with Mark and what's his name. So I think they did like kind of just tell us. But also they mentioned in episode 2 at the analysis at the end of episode 2 that like Helena is surprised to see herself be treated in such an authentic, normal way by at like herself as an innie by the other innies, which didn't, I think, there's not something I could have concluded at all from the thing itself, from the episode itself. But that seems like they're just telling us that's the direction of the character. That she's gonna like, oh, this person is actually treating me in a really that I'm like not used to. I have yet to be sold on that as like, it feels awkward. Like I think that really rich people like that probably couldn't be convinced in that way. I think that's a misunderstanding of sheltered rich people. Yes, the fact that she said that a documentary was boring shows that she's not an innie, because they would be like, a nature documentary? I get to see what animals look like? That's insane. They're playing a lot more on the idea that there is like a vague connection between the innie and outie. Because I feel like a lot of the attitude, especially of the people who make the technology, is that they're completely separate. You know, like Helena thinks that she doesn't have to deal with, in any way, she has no connection with her innie. When in reality, like, yeah, if and maybe the tech is different, so they don't make this as the case. But like, even if you don't remember being there, you share a chain of consciousness with that person, a stream of consciousness. So it's like you lose all your memory and you get more, and get different one, but you still experience the displeasure. So there's like you're kind of weirdly sort of half invested in it, even if that produces this yeah, you have the same brain. Even if that produces like some weird capacity where you are different people. I remember reading a paper on this, some philosophy paper that talks about how this, I guess, helps highlight the limitations of a lot of our conceptions of personhood, especially as concerns the like Lockean image of personhood, which is like that you share a memory, a stream of memories almost, that like, even if you don't remember everything that's happening to you, you remember a version of yourself who remembers that, who remembers, there's this chain of memory that's like a really fundamental.